Amen. Good evening. That was a good introduction to the theme of tonight. We are studying together in this week why we get sick. And we want to know ourselves what's going on in our lives, that disease is there. And we went on a journey and we came to the bottom of it, to the beginning of it, there where everything starts. And everything that starts in our life starts in our heart. And every action we take comes from our heart. And every action we do is either to take, for the purpose to take, or for the purpose to give. There is no more than that. So we can reduce all the actions of man to a purpose. And I either live that I take to give, or I live to give, to take, or to receive. The one is the law of life, and the other one is a deception and is in reality not even existed. It just exists in our eluded or deceived spirit or heart. And since this line is here and the heart is not conscious to us, through the deception we are born with, we do not know where we take from. In the end, we think we do not take from anyone. We just think everything we do out of our self. And I came, and this is the most important thing that we should understand, that our spirit is like a stomach, like the lung. He can only work with things that he needs to take, that he might give. The difference between the stomach and the spirit is the stomach has no choice what he takes to give. Yes? He must take that what comes in. If we put to a flower the water or whatever, she has no choice. The water has, the plant has no choice what I give to her, but she will take what is given to her disposition. So, the only difference between the physical and the spiritual is the physical never has a choice, but the physical always has a choice where to take and where to give. That is, the action of taking and giving is always the Spirit's one. As we saw the second night, the Spirit is not an entity that someone from outside can break. We saw that when we don't want to do something, we will never do it. So the Spirit is that entity that is made in the image of God. I mean, the whole man is made in the image of God, but what is mainly that part that is made in the image of God is that we control our lives ourselves. We were made to act on responsibility. We were not made that someone should push our buttons. God made us that we should put our buttons ourselves. It's a very important thing. God did not make man and his spirit that he should push any button. He can never fill us. How should he do it? He has no entrance to our spirit. Our mind, our spirit is the only one that can take by his own choice. And he must also give what he takes. But it is his action that he does it. And this is very vital and important for us to understand. And I shared last night that the taking is unconscious to us. The giving, since it is an action that we do, becomes conscious. Yes, but the taking is unconscious to us. So, let me tell you a story that illustrates that. Once again, last year I had a 15-year-old girl. She came with her mom to me, and she had a sudden hearing loss on her left ear. And that hearing loss came the third time. She got it about 2 years before in November. And then she got it again 2 years later in November. That was the year before last, 2014. And then it came back after a week, 10 days. But now in June last year, it came and it lasted. And in between the 2 years where she had no hearing loss, she had on her right leg, which corresponds to the same cortex, she had a sudden paralysis of the peroneus nerve. And that nerve, so for 6 weeks she couldn't walk well. She just had the foot tearing after her. No one knew why she had that paralysis. So it went away after those 6 weeks, and now she comes to me because the hearing loss didn't get back again. Now for me, according to the law, and for you as you have listened night after night, where do we need to look why she has the hearing loss? The hearing loss is the result of her giving into the body. Yes? We must know that when the Spirit gives, He puts that into the body and makes the electricity. I hope you got that until now. But when the Spirit takes, we don't see it necessarily. And now, I know that this hearing loss, can it come by chance? No, for sure not. By the law, there is nothing that comes into the body by chance. So, I know I have to look, where does the lady take from? Because where she takes from, that is what she gives out. And that result you see in the body. Now, where does a 15-year-old child take for his orientation in life, for her decisions? It's basically her mom. and it fits very well through her left ear. And so I asked the young lady, the 15-year-old girl, if she thinks that she's dependent on what she decides from her mom. What was her answer? Of course not. And I did it on purpose. I knew I cannot convince her even that she's dependent on her mom, but her disease is the best proof that she takes from her mom. So I know from the body of this young girl that her mom has a broken heart, a burden that she bears with her for more years. And that burden, the child takes over. And it looks and it is viewed in the child's physical body. So the hearing loss was quite severe. More than the half of the hearing capacity was gone. And so it happened in June, and they came to me, I think in July or August. And I said, okay, I will talk to the mom. And I cannot talk to a 15-year-old girl to fix the problem. Because it's not that it's too young to understand. It's easier to talk to mom, and then she might help the child to do the steps. So I talked to her mom, and I took the history of her mom, and I took the diseases of mom. And the mother had also a disease on her 2 legs. She was having I can say edemas, lip edemas, so that's in both legs, and she had it for years. So the legs get bigger, and no one knows how to treat those things. No one knows where they come from. But for me, it fits very well to why even the child got its hearing loss. So we came into the story of the mother, and the mother had issues, as her body shows, from her early childhood with her parents. Not everyone rises up in a good home, and I will share a little bit about my home also. And you raise up as the circumstances are, and it's like a plant that grows in the sunshine, have no water. What happens with it? Yes, it's just that the child needs to take, but it just takes what is there. It cannot take anything else. We cannot choose our mom, can we? Can we? No. Can we choose our dad? No. And we don't need to. So we are there, and when we went through the history of this mother, we saw the issues. But mother said, I thought that I solved them. And subjectively, she solved them. Like people say, I forgave. But you see, I came to understand forgiveness from the point of body's function. And then forgiveness is something else than we do. And I hope tomorrow morning I will go on to that subject more clear. What is there. So if that is so important, then I need to understand what is forgiveness. Because people forgive, people go to seminars, and their diseases don't disappear. And when the same or similar things happens, boom, everything is back. You see, when we know what forgiveness is, we never need to even forget the event. Because that's an impossibility. God made us not to forget, but to remember. But if you remember it in the right way, it won't hurt you at all. So to try to forget things is not an easy thing. And we were not made to forget. We can remember even the worst thing in our life when they are put in the right place and we view them correctly. They will not do us a wrong emotion and a wrong dysfunction in the body. So I explained to her the whole law of life that I explained to you. And she's a Christian and she is a very pleasant woman. She understood it. And I said, look, that's the way it is. And you need to change your love source. Her parents were still there, the one that she herself oriented after. But was she aware of it? Not at all. And so the good news was that because this lady is the young girl is a student of my wife at the violin, in October, in the mid of October, we get the news that the child's hearing loss came back, switched on again. So how does that go? You have for 3 months, your ear is closed. They say it's an infarct, but an infarct, if you have an infarct, it never gets back. How does it come? It comes suddenly, and after months, boom, it's there like the light is going on again. Something has changed, something has been done. I haven't talked to the mother. But it's amazing. When we do certain things, we will see the results if we understand where we take from. Now, I was born as a second child in a Adventist family, and my will, in my consciousness, I have my main entrance in my will is harmony. It is harmony. And harmony, everything you do or everything you expect is harmony is the first thing in the row or in all your needs. All other spiritual needs come after it. Yeah? We don't have all the same needs at the beginning. Yes? If people have here instead of harmony at the beginning and after that righteousness and freedom or whatever the order is, then they judge everything to that one first need. If people have here, by example, instead of harmony, security, they are all on security base. They do nothing except they are secure. If people are here and they have righteousness, they just look to every sense, every unrighteous thing, they just make them terribly upset. They might stay better with disharmony, but they don't get good with harmony. So I was born with this. I had no choice. What is my first need? And so I am born in a disharmonious family. What happens with me if you're born in a family that father and mother do not get along well? I was second born, and when I was 2 months, my mom said I almost died on a pneumonia. Then in an early child, even while I was in my little bed before I think 1 year or when what happened, I got a nervous tic. I had to weep myself, I don't know if that's the right English word, into sleep. You just... And when I got older, I was more technique. I used my left arm to get more speed so that I could, on the bed. And I did this till I was 14, 15 years old, until I fell into sleep. That's a nervous tic. It's a misbehavior. It's not normal. Then I couldn't speak well. I couldn't speak the I couldn't speak it. I just, when they asked me what's your name, I said Hosti. By name Horsty or Horst. Yes? So the E comes for the little one, you know. So I couldn't say that correctly. So my grandma was my first logopedic teacher, and she gave me a phrase where I had to say Rudi frest Ruht Rappen. So all the time, until it came out of my ears. So it worked. I did, when I never finished to urinate in bed in the night till I was 8 years old. And when I was 8 years old, the parents separated. We were moving out together with my mom, all 4 children, together with my grandmother, and father left. He stayed in his home, and he said that we have to leave, so we left. 1 week after we left, I got hepatitis B. By chance? No, by chance. I was the most attached from all 4 children to my mom, because she was my source for harmony. I had to take care for her, and I was the one that had the most worries for her. So I had to go into the hospital. I was 3 weeks in the hospital. And in those 3 weeks in the hospital, I still remember it. I was like in prison. But there, because I was with more children, you know, you are there in Romania, they have, I don't know, 6, 7 children in one room, if that was enough. And then I somehow got rid of my being in bed in the night, because it goes through the mattress down and everyone sees it. And so somehow when I get away from the hospital, that stopped. But when I came out of the hospital, I got hyperactive. From the age of 8 to the age of 14, no one could do anything with me. I just went to school and came home when I wanted. My poor mother wanted to educate me. There was no choice, because she, every evening when I came home, I didn't come home when it was time to come home. I came home when I was finished. So when I had friends from the school, and they said, let me go to ask my parent first. I said, well, you need to ask? I never needed to ask. I just went. I said, well, I do what I want. Mother was at work. Grandmother doesn't have much power, has he? And so you do what you want. And almost every night, because I was the worst from all 4 children, my mom had to educate me. And she was really a good mom. She wanted to help me, and I was used to the rod. Almost every night the rod was on my, and I was used to it. It didn't hurt me really. When I didn't resist it anymore, I run into my bed, and off with it. Mom didn't come after me. But one evening, I don't forget that. My mom she did not know what to do anymore, and she started to cry and to weep. And you know, when you're harmony dependent, tears matters for you. For me, tears always mattered. And so when I saw the tears of my mom, I was ready to do everything for her, just to stop her, to not weep anymore, and to be content. That I don't forget. But you see, it lasted for maybe 1 day or 2 days, and then I was again in my old habit and mood. But with 14 years old, as my best friend left, because he became my love source, he became the one I took from, because his mom was gone. We were without, both boys without mom, so the whole city was ours, and we did all the things we could do, and it was just God who protected us. to not do worse and worse. And if, of course, we started to smoke, but I never smoked really. I just once drank alcohol together with him on an Easter day, and but I didn't like alcohol, I didn't like the cigarettes, so that's why probably I never used it. But imagine I would have liked it. They would have become just the place where I would have fed myself. But I had another thing that I fed from. It was the movies. From the age of 8 years, I became dependent on movies. I saw my first movie with 8. And then with 10, I got dependent on soccer. When I was 10, I saw my first World Cup thing. And so I was very dependent on going to, we didn't have a TV, back then there was no TV in Romania. There were TVs, but they had only black and white, and the program was maybe 2 hours in the evening and a half. And then, yes, but there were the cinemas, and every week there were a change of the movie in the cinema, so I had to go the first movie at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I had to be there when it was a movie that I was always interested. So that's where I got my harmony needs. And so when my boyfriend left from Romania to Germany, I lost him as my source. And so I became quiet, just from one day to another. I was just quiet. My hyperactivity disappeared, and my teeth started to fall out. The molars, both sides, up and down, they became rotten. And in this 1 year, I had so much pain with those teeth and repairs and all this. I still remember it. And when the teeth got somehow fixed, I got migraine with 15. And during this time, I always had back and forth severe tonsillitis with pus and high fever. And I remember that every time I got the tonsillitis, I thought that I would die. Yeah, I always was quite fearful. I was a fearing person. When I got sick, I said, now I die. I didn't. Yes, you see. When I was 28, I got rid of my tonsils because I said I don't want to have them again and again, that they should bother me. And after I got rid of the tonsils, I got panic attacks, severe fear. And no one knew what I had. I had dizziness, I had all kinds of symptoms. I thought my heart would stop. You see, when a little thing in my left breast was a little thingy, you don't even see it if you don't, pay attention. But as you are paying very much attention to your body, yes, I paid all the attention. And when I had that, I immediately thought, now I die. And so, of course, I ran to many doctors for 2 years, and no one found anything. I got shots with all kinds of natural remedies, but it didn't really help. Because no one talked to me. No one said to me, what's wrong in my life? And so I went on, then the stomach came, and my neck came, and many things that I had in my life came up there. Why did they come? Because I was starving for harmony. When I was 8 years old, I had this idea. I've grown up in the Seventh-day Adventist church, and in those days in Romania they were preaching very, very much that Jesus is coming very soon. And I had one desire before Jesus come. I said, I hope I get married before Jesus comes. Because I thought marriage, the relationship in marriage would make me happy. That would satisfy all my needs for harmony. And with 8 years, I said, okay, somehow I have to manage to get married. Because I wanted in my heart, how did I want that harmony should be satisfied? By my action or by others' action? Others. So I went and I married very early, at an early age. I tell you, between 18 and 19. So why did I marry? To take or to give? Yes, I married because I want to receive. I want to receive harmony. So I married my wife, and everyone has his own imagination of what he wants from another one, does he? Yes? We all dream how the future partner should be. And my dream was that I should marry a housewife that would just be quiet and soft and just home and doing that what pleases me. and so I married my wife, and she is not the type of a person that I imagined to be. She is more she comes from a capital. I come from the country, she comes from the capital city. And capital cities, they have another pace of life. If I go one step in 2 minutes, she goes 15 steps in those 2 minutes. Yes. So she was used to another type of living, but somehow we came together, and everyone has his own expectation. And I was not really happy because she is the manager type of woman. She wants to do things ongoing. She is never in a normal pace. Yeah? When she runs, she runs. The train she gets when the train starts already to move. That's how I met her, She was used to travel, and when she came at the train station when the train started to move, and then she ran to boom, jumping. That's for a harmony person. For a harmony person, that's not the best thing to do, because you cannot go with it. So I wanted from my wife that I should receive harmony, but I didn't get it. So what happened with me? Was I happy? No. But you see, I did not know that while I was expecting from her to receive, I took from her. She found out quite early, I don't think consciously, that I'm sensitive to tears. And so whenever she wanted something, even harmonious people have a will, and they have a yes and a no. And so my wife said, "Oh, can you do this?" And she said it very nicely, and I said no. And then she said, "But I ask you so nice to do it." And I said, "Well, if you ask me so nice, I have a choice to say no." But do you have a choice to say no when your wife asks you something nice? Of course not. And so there comes the pressure, and when you don't listen to that soft voice, what happens with that voice? It gets more. It gets stronger. And while it gets stronger, you self gets even more stronger. Yes? And then she starts weeping, and then she gets stronger, and I am getting also stronger. But the harmonious person will, in the end, give up. You know why? He cannot endure disharmony. And then he says, "Okay, let's do it like you want." And so you're subject to the others. You don't know that. But the other can always do with you what he wants. He He will get you to the point you get very upset. And I was very nervous. I was so upset. And I said, no, I don't do it. But in the end, it ended up, I just did what she said. Because I could not stop it. I could not endure disharmony. Thank God I can do it today. Because when you cannot endure disharmony, you make compromises. And you don't stick to the right. You just compromise just for your own sake, to be at peace. That's pure selfishness, you know that? But you think you're the good one. You think, oh, I'm too good for this world. That's why I have to surrender here. So, we went together on for many years, but I was not aware that she was my main source to take from. But I was not happy. If you take from a human, how much happiness can you have? Even if that human is quite okay for your expectations. You know, so 15 years in our marriage, we got the 6 children. And of course, I was happy we got those children. I thought that would fix some of our problems. But, you know, it didn't really fix them. And so we had even more problems. And what happens when you have problems? What happens with your addictions? Your addictions become stronger. And so I knew I could not, in the end of this, by 2001, 2002, I could not switch the TV on, off. Because I could not. I thought maybe there's something coming now that I can catch, which will make me and satisfy me. And then I was on call, and you know you have in your room on call a TV and the end of your bed, and I was laying in bed, and I knew maybe I should sleep a little bit, because if an emergency comes and wakes you up at 3 o'clock, you will die. But you fall asleep with the zipper, you know, with the remote control. I was so stressed the last year in my life, 2002, that I was driven by my own needs and my passion. I couldn't sleep. I thought that sleeping is loss of time. So I said I have to sleep less because I want to live, I want to do something. And you hunt for your happiness, and the more you hunt for your happiness, the more in problem you get. I was tired, I was driven, I was addicted, I was searching. I thought maybe I find that woman that will satisfy my need. And so in all these situations, and of course I also was addicted to those things that men are addicted in the internet, and so I couldn't abstain. I was a Christian. I went to church. I had youth meetings, and I was even almost a Bible worker, it was called, but I was the right hand of the pastor, and I had my weaknesses. I was sincere. I wanted to serve always the Lord, but I did all the things, and I had no control over my life. And so I became more and more unhappy, and finally I got to the decision, if I do not now take a decision to change something, I will die. And I thought I have to do something to save my life, and I always wanted to be happy, and I thought the main cause of my unhappiness is who? That would be good. Who are responsible for your happiness? Others are responsible for your happiness in your deceived heart. And so who do you want to change around you? You say your wife is the cause of your problems, and so you need to change her to get a better one. And of course, I had this imagination, even though I was grown up in the Adventist church, I saw there people marry and divorcing, and I said, well, I know this is not the right path, but the Lord will forgive me, and I will then find the right woman, and then I come back to church. You know? That was my plan. And so we did it. I could not resist anymore, and we planned to split the family on the 26th of July 2003. Well, I did the plans, of course. My wife never agreed to the plans, but she would have had no choice. The children knew it, those who were still in our house. But the Lord had another plan, and we had planned a weekend, 2 weeks to come to the States for a family camp meeting. And when we planned the family camp meeting, I still had hope that I could repair my marriage. But when we came to the camp meeting, I had no hope. My final decision was made. I will quit. I will get out of this. And so by the end, we came here, and on 1st June 2003, we had a counseling session. I think it lasted about 3 hours with this family counseling family. You might know them. They have a ministry, and they were then located in Montana, Restoration International. It was the Waters family. And we were at their home, and they talked to us. They are very friendly, but they could not convince me. I was very strong. I said, it is enough. I want to be happy. I have a few needs. I want to be satisfied. I want to be understood. Is that a good thing? Do we need understanding? How do we get it? By being understood or by understanding others? Yeah, so what did I want? To receive. You want to be understood. How do you know the other understands you? Do you ever know it? You never know it. It's just an imagination of your heart. You can think the other understands you, but he might never understand you. But when you understand others, that you know, that you can handle, that you can relate to. I wanted understanding. I wanted someone that I could talk to with my, I'm a talker and I like to go into things. And I had one desire, harmonious people, they want to live with harmonious people. And I said, I want this one wish. Whenever my wife should wake up in the morning, she should smile. I was the funniest person in the hospital. I was the funniest person everywhere I went, because I had to make people smile. Because I had to say a joke. And when the joke was said, all laughed. And I thought, this is it. Yeah? I was totally dependent on their laughing, accepting my joke, because I needed their harmony, their smile, their acceptance. Was I aware of it? No, of course not. Of course not. So we had this conversation, and I said, I want my needs to be fulfilled. It's nothing wrong what I want. And so my wife was weeping. The wife of the counselor was weeping. The Tom Waters was cool and nice, and I was strong. I said, no, there's no discussion with me. You don't do anything. I just remain like I decided. I was strong. And so sometimes after 3 hours we finished that conversation, and I went to take my tennis shoes, and while I went to take my tennis shoes, a thought came to my spirit, to my mind. And the thought was like this: if you are going to keep my commandments, I will take care of your needs. It was a very interesting thought. If you are going to keep my commandments, I will take care of your needs. I really liked the thought because I had the end of it. I said, oh, my needs can be fulfilled. I can be happy. But then I looked to the condition. And what says the condition? If you are keeping my commandments. So I forgot the thought. We went to the camp meeting. We're there a whole week, from Wednesday to Sunday. And on Sabbath, or on Friday night already at the camp meeting, they gave us a bookmark, a small bookmark. And on that bookmark was written my favorite Bible verse that I had on the door of my house for almost 20 years. And that Bible verse is, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Since my childhood, since my earliest childhood, and I still remember, I wanted to be a pastor. I want to be a servant of the Lord. That was my goal from when I was very little. I never wanted to leave the Lord, but I just thought I will make this detour and then I will be happy and then I come back to the Lord. So I got that Bible verse that night and I signed it and put it in my Bible because it was always the desire of my heart to serve the Lord. And the next day in the afternoon we had again a meeting together with the Waters family, just as a family. Their 3 children were there and our 3 were together. And suddenly, sitting together, he looks to me and says, "Are you committed to stay with your family?" And I was very fast in those days. I knew what people would ask me before they finished. So I said, yes. Even before he had finished his question. Because I thought he asked me, are you committed to leave? I said yes to the leaving, not to the staying. But now I said the yes, and my wife and the children have heard it. And in a moment they heard it, I saw they were surprised. What? Did he change? But I didn't change. I just said a yes to another question. But now, I had to take a decision. The Lord knows my weakness. And I'm not a person that takes fast decisions. So if it's possible, I push them away. That's my way of doing with decisions. But he knew he must put me in a decision thing. And I so thank him that he put it in the right place. He used my fast answer to bring me into a position where now I have to say yes or I have to say no. I could not go out that room and say to my 6 foster children that were then with us, 14, 16, and 18, that I heard my yes, to say, oh, it was just a mistake. Or to my wife. And so I said, now I must decide. And I don't know how many seconds passed away, but I was there and I had to decide, do I say I stay to that yes, or do I take it back? And I don't know how I did it, but I stand here because I jumped myself after that yes. And when in my heart I said that yes, you know what I did in reality? Where did I take from? I took the first time, after many years, from God. He said, do not commit adultery. And I said, yes to that. Because when you obey, you take. And in a moment I said yes. You know what happened in my life? In a split of a second, the Lord changed my heart. I became from a driven, passionate, restless person a very peaceful one. I got a peace that is not describable, and it's still there. This peace is what confirms to me that God is with me. You see, there is a Bible verse that says in Isaiah 48:18, it says, "Oh, if you would hearken to my commandments, thy peace would be like a river, and thy happiness like the waves of the sea." You see, in English, the word happiness is translated with righteousness. In Romanian, it says your happiness, because righteousness and happiness is the same thing. You know that? It's the same word. Righteousness and happiness is the same thing. And so God says, "Oh, if you would hearken to my commandments, your peace would be like a river." How could God compare more happiness as the waves of the sea? Is there anything on this earth more than the waves of the sea? What is most on the earth? Water in the ocean. Yes? Can there be a bigger comparison how much happiness you can have? Can it be? Not at all. If you ever have seen the waves of the sea, and then you see them and say, "Oh, like this, my happiness can be." And that's on condition to take from God. The God changed my life, my heart in a second. But it was so a big thing that even our children, the oldest son, 18, he was not the oldest, the third born, he was converted at that camp meeting. We were so at peace, the whole family, that the next week that we have planned to go on vacation, when you go vacation with me, you have activity, you go movies, you go parks, you go, there were no desire for this at all. The oldest son said, "Can we not just go home?" I said, "Well, we have another week to stay here, so let's go." And we went up to Canada and hunted bears, to see bears, and we found 3 bears on the road to us, and we had a nice time in nature. We didn't do that what we planned at home to do. What happened with all my addictions? I knew that my addictions was wrong. I knew that I did wrong when I watched those movies, when I watched those things in the internet, when I did the things that are not permitted. I knew it was wrong, but I could not abstain from it. There was no power. But what happened after that yes in my heart? That happened that, like in a split of a second, God took away all my addictions. I fight addictions. I wanted to not see it. I wanted to not go into internet. But when the lust came, the mouse went by itself. I have no choice. People come to me with their addictions, and I say, yes, there is an easy solution. If you fight addiction, you will never get it. You just change addiction from another addiction. The only thing to fight addiction is to know where are you dependent from. And addictions come because you're dependent on a human to take love. And that human cannot satisfy you. If you change the taking place, your addictions disappear. Because they are just a result that you take from a wrong place. It's like hunting the output of the tares, yes? What do you have when you have not corn but the wheat, yes? The tares, it's just cutting them down. How often can you cut down the tares? Will they come back if you don't take the root out? Yeah, of course. You can cut it down and think, it's okay. In a few weeks, it's back there. So if you fight addictions, you're cutting out that thing. Addictions are just the branch. They're not the root of evil. The root of evil is where you take from. And that's a human. That's the wrong place to take. So when God helped me and I took the decision to take from Him, He could come into my heart and do a work in me that I could have never done in me. And I will explain this work tomorrow when we speak about the cross. What does it mean that our self dies? And how does it die? Because all my addictions come out of my error in my mind, from my error in my spirit, in my heart. I took from the wrong place. My wife was my God. My mother, of course, was still my God. My grandmother and the children became my God. Was I aware of it? Not at all. I loved them as I loved God. You see, there are two actions in love, the one that takes and the other that gives. And you have the taking because you have no means, you have no information to share if you don't go and orient your spirit in your actions after someone. Because you're not independent, you're dependent. You're very dependent. And so, it's just you don't see your dependency. And this experience showed me that God exists. I was a doubter all my life. And when I had that experience of conversion, I said, God must be here, because I could never give me that peace. Never ever. I had the experience of 20 years of fighting my addictions and I couldn't overcome. And now suddenly in 1 second, all your addictions are gone. We went the first night into the hotel, in the motel, and the first thing before was that turn on the TV. And there was no desire anymore to turn on that TV. I didn't see any movies since then. Since 2003. I saw, to say so, one Christian movie once, but you can forget them too. And another movie where my brother-in-law was playing they did a history over his life, or I don't know, whatever, and he showed me how it was filmed. But I was so addicted to movie, my children knew it. They sit there and say, how can you have no addictions? We had a TV in the house for 1 year more, and no one in the house wanted to see TV. And then we kicked it out because you don't need it anymore. But I had the years before, and whenever I had problems with the TV, and we always had fights over the TV. You know, my wife was in a conflict with the TV because I put the TV where? Before her. Yes, and one day in her great love she cut the rope, to put into the the cable. How did I like it? I just said, oh, that's great love for me. I didn't like it at all. But I was fighting the TV, and I said, okay, I have to put this TV back away from the house. So I put it in the basement. And I said, I will always bring it only up again when there is a soccer game comes. And every 2 years you have the finals, the European Cup and then the World Cup. And it's no sin to see soccer, so you bring up the TV. And then he stayed for longer there. And then I saw that I cannot handle it. Life was a mess, so I took the TV, put it down in the basement. But then later on I put a cable to the basement so that I can go in the basement to watch TV there. So I was just a terrible addict. And here it comes. I take one little decision and everything is gone away. So I learned for the first time in my life to take from God. Was I conscious about the process? Of course not. But God helped me that this process should become conscious. Now I'm conscious. So after I got converted, I started a close relationship with God because I said I need Him. And then He taught me that harmony I do not have when I receive it. Harmony I have when I give it. You know that? It's only when you give you fulfill your need. You never fulfill your need when you take. But we all think we fulfill our needs when we take. No, the taking is necessary that we might give, but in giving the fulfillment is. Because then your body gets what he needs. So we always expect that in the taking, in receiving, we are fulfilled. It's a terrible mistake of our evil heart. It's in the giving. You know when I have harmony? When I am harmonious. And so the Lord taught me how to love my wife. You see, how to respect her even though she is like she is. Yes? With all her, I don't know, you have spouses that are perfect? And I tell you, my wife is not perfect. And I see her imperfection. I don't need any eyeglasses to see them. I see it. Because we all see the imperfections of others, do we? But we don't see our own. The I self that Christ comes to give us is for our own heart. Not for others. Not for others. And I learned since then how to love and respect the others. Do you think it's easy? I tell you, it's not humanly possible. It's only through the grace of God that we will be able to love. And I shared, the other night how on our anniversary, I'm grievy to think, how shall I make more economy on my wife? You know how that is. You always want to do economy. And you do economy on those you love most. And on the others you don't do economy. And that's something not right, is it? So I'm in the teaching process to learn to love. How God teaches me to love. When I understand my wife, I have understanding. Not when she understands me. But I sometimes get confused, My heart still betrays me sometimes, and I want to be understood. And I realize then when my stomach hurts, your heart got you again into trouble. You went the wrong way. You didn't go the right way, you went the wrong way. You went to eat from where there is no food to take. So for what purpose was our relationship made with humans? Just to give. And people come to me and say, well, but marriage is it not a taking and giving? Now, a relationship, yes, everyone in a relationship gives. And if everyone would give what he takes from God, how would be the relationship? Let's look. Why do we go in a relationship? Let's take just the idea of understanding. So, does the wife go into the marriage to say, I want to understand my husband? Is that the purpose why she goes? No. What does she want? She wants to be understood. So the conflict is programmed. So if you don't understand me, I have to get louder. And if you don't understand me, I have to rock you, yes? Until you understand me. But you see, when you go into the relationship with the wrong purpose, the conflict is programmed. As long as you think you're understood, you won't fight. But then, when you're not understood, you will fight. Imagine, do you think the women would have any mysteries about their husbands if they would go into the relationship to understand the other? You know, there is a big mystery between women and men. They don't understand each other. You know why? Everybody searches his own. They don't go and say, oh, now I have you, now I want to know you. I want to see what's in your heart, and I dig deep and I dig deep every evening, every night, every time. When I have a chance, I want to see something, new things coming out of you. Is that our purpose? Of course not, because we are selfish. We are not interested in the other person, except for what it gives to us. Of course we do something, but we don't do it for the purpose to just understand. I am convinced today, if a person would go to search out his wife, he would understand her, and there would be not much mysteries over to understand a woman. But since our evil hearts go and want to be understood, we don't check the other out. We just check out ourselves and how the other should fulfill our needs. There would be never a conflict in the matter of understanding if we all would go that we want to understand the other. Would it? Are you with me? Never. So we go into a relationship with humans for the wrong purpose. Who is the only one who can understand us? God. The only one who knows my heart. You know Psalm 139? How much does God know me? Everything. Can I go to Him for understanding that I may give it? Can I? Yes. Where shall I learn to be understood? Where? From where? Whom? From God. You see, I learned to love my wife by seeing how God loves her. And of course, how He loves me. But I am a person, and you might, when people do wrong, we want them to be punished. Do we? They should learn a lesson. And yes, there is a place for consequence and punishment. But I see that God sometimes punishes in a way that really breaks your heart. My wife, usually when we travel, she got better now, I must say that. Usually when we travel, she stays the whole night awake to pack and to arrange everything in the home, so just when we leaves, nothing is forgotten. For me, I just need a little bit to pack, and I sleep the whole night very well, I raise up in the morning, put all together and ready to go. And you see, she had this for years. Or yeah, sometimes it happens. And so we come to the airport, and of course she is totally tired. And now you fly into America, and it's a long distance flight, and you think, how will she cope with all this? And you know, I would say now she will see how she suffers the whole flight, just sleeping in a small chair. But you know, God, in His love towards her, the airplane is full, but she has 3 seats to sleep. And I said, Lord, you are just not like me. You do not do things like I would do. I would just say now there must be a harsh consequence that you ever learn it. But I think the Lord wants to teach me something. How much does He know our weakness? Does He know them? Has He compassion with us? Does He punish us even more when we are weak? Because it's a weakness. It's not something that you could say it's a big sin, is it? That needs to be punished? No, some people cannot pack fast. Some make it in 5 minutes, some need 5 hours. It's a weakness. It's a thing there. And God is so mindful that He just says, I reserve for 3 seats. And I said, Lord, I'm a terrible person. I see myself, how I would react towards her. And I said, Lord, if you can do that, help me to do it too. You see, we can learn only by example. Jesus says, as I have loved you, you should love one another. He said, look unto me how I do it, and do it the same. When He washed the feet, what did He say to them? As I wash your feet, you should wash the feet one another. Would they have learned it if He would have not shown it to them? No, they would stay until the day. They would stay on there and they would never wash the feet of another one. So, when we take from God, we will be changed. But we don't then go in a relationship with the purpose to take, but we go into a relationship with the pure purpose to give. And then there would be no mysteries between men and women. You know, I know today women very much or much more than I used to know. You know why? In my counseling, in my practice, who comes most to the doctor? Man or woman? Women. They are more open to learn. Men, they know everything, isn't it? They don't need counsel. They know everything. Most men, they just come when they're almost dead. Then there are exceptions, yes, but this is somehow the rule. Women are very eager to learn and to know. So they come, and I learned that I talked to thousands of women. I don't know how many it is, maybe 3,000 or 4,000. And if you know only 1,000 women and their story, you know a lot. You don't need to read any book about women. Because you know it yourself. And you see patterns of thinking, patterns of behavior, patterns of thought. They're every time equal. And so, you know, women have another language. When a woman asks the husband, please help me clean the dishes or the vacuum cleaner, what do they say? Do you know it? Do they need you to help her to clean with the vacuum? Is that their purpose why they ask you to do it? No, of course not. They just want to know if you still love them. They can do it by themselves. But they need a proof that you love them. But when you come home, and instead of, come home from work, and she says, "Oh, can you help me?" the first reaction is, "Oh, I just came from work. I come home for pleasure. I have come home to relax. And now look, there is another boss who asked me to do something." And instead of seeing it as an invitation to love her, we see it as an invitation to work or to... And then what we do? Next time we come half an hour later home when the vacuum cleaner is already done. We don't understand our languages because we have no idea who the other is. I once was in a meeting, a camp meeting, and the person who invited me to speak came one day later when I was in the weeks in the meetings. He came to me and said, "Last night I did a counseling session with my wife." And they were married for a time, and I said, "You know, I came to know things about her I never knew." You never asked. Do a counseling session and ask them what they think. You will be surprised. But do you have the time for that? The interest? We just are interested in ourselves and in our own needs. We think by getting we are satisfied. It's not by that. It's by giving. So all our human relationships were made with the purpose to give. And when another human gives me something, because people come and say, "Well, but in marriage, what do I do with the love of my wife?" Oh, you take it. Because where does that love come from? From God. So who do you praise that she loves you? God. So you're thankful to God for her love, and you don't need to praise her. Because she doesn't give you anything from herself. She just took it from God and did something to it and gave it in her own language and in her own way to do it. So we should only take things that come from God. Because the Bible says, "Man will see your good works, and who will they praise?" You know why? Because our works will testify that they are not ours. When you're patient, when all are against you, you will prove that your work is not yours. And then humans will say, "Oh, this must be a godly person. This must be God." So, let us know. You see, when my wife talks to me, I'm listening if she talks from God or from her. And when I perceive that she talks from God, I do the thing. But when I perceive it comes from her, I don't do it. Because you take only from God. You don't take from a human. That's a hard lesson. You're not very conscious to it. But we have to learn it. Because where you take from, that's how you become. Yes? Where you take from, there you become. And I finish with the last story because we started late. I just was a few months ago, maybe almost a year ago, I was in my practice and I was doing my work and I opened the door to my waiting room, and when I opened the door, a strange odor came to my nose. And I have a very sensitive nose. And I said, what's smelling here? Didn't smell good. And so I didn't know which of the patients smelled so bad. But finally the patient came, I shake the hand, and he passed me, and I said, this is it. This is him. It was a 55-year-old gentleman, and he had an infected ear. And you know, when I smelled that smell, it was a smell like you are in a place where are animals, you know, the stall. Yeah? My helper said later, well, that was urine smell. So probably he had a urine problem, whatever he had. It was smelling terribly for me. And so when he was so smelling, I just was very, I wanted very fast to finish him. And so, as an ENT, you cannot sit 3 meters or away from the person. You have to come to his ear. And with the microscope, you're just with your nose in him. You have no choice. So you want to just finish fast. And so I tried to finish fast. But the gentleman had an infected ear, and whenever I came close to his ear and I thought now I can take out off that thing that was fixed there in his ear, he jumped away. And so fix again the microscope, try again to put him, and again, and he jumps away. Whenever I want to do it. And I was almost 11 and a half years in my practice then, and I said, and I became impatient. And finally, after about 10 minutes trying to help the person smelling that bad smell, he was not keeping his head fixed. I put my microscope to the side and said, we have to fix this. I lost my patience. I never lost my patience in this career. Internally, not outwardly, as much as I lost it in that day. I was aware of it. And I said to the gentleman, we have to fix this. And I said, you have to hold still your head. And he said, well, but it hurts. I said, it doesn't matter. You're not a child. I didn't say it so loud, but you're a child. You're not a child. You're 55 years old, so stick there. Because, I'm the measurement. When I go to the doctor and I do a tease, I don't put an anesthesia. Because I keep to the pain. And if you are God, what measurement you put on the others? Your own. Yes, so if I can resist, you can too. Yes, you are the measure for all. So I just was totally insensitive to him, yes. And so I said, now put your head here, and I fixed it there, and I will take that thing off your ear, and you stay still. And he did. We finally finished to clean that ear. It was a chronic infection, and so when he left, I told him he should come earlier so that we clean it now and then and help him. And I wanted to add when he was at the door, but don't go into your stall before you come to the doctor. But I abstained from that, thank God. I came out, but I had it in my thought, Thoughts can be stopped. Words, no, they are gone. A thought can be stopped before they get out. And so, all patients were gone, and I was sitting there, and I do an examination. I say, Lord, why did I lose my temper? Because I knew what I did. You see, I did so many mistakes in this patient that whenever I view back, I see something more. When a person comes to me and he has an infected ear, I ask him what is in his heart. What burden does he carry with him? Because this person was not smelling well, I did not even think on asking it. How much interest did I have in him? No interest. I just had interest to do my job. I'm ashamed for it, but this is the truth. His smell so disturbed me that I just was blind. It would have smelled good, probably I would have asked him, but his smell just brought me into a difficult situation. And then he was impatient, he couldn't keep his head. And so that afternoon the Lord helped me to see what I did. So now you know it too. Why did I get impatient? What happened in my heart? Why did I get impatient? Why did I lose my temper? What was the cause? Pardon? I thought I was God, yes. That's this evil nature. But when you think you're God, from whom do you take? Oh, you take from Him. You see, He became my God. Did I realize it? Because He was impatient, what did I become? How are you when you have impatient people around you? Do they influence you? You become impatient also? If you become impatient also, then you take from them. But if you don't become impatient, you take from Christ. You take from God. Because where you take from, exactly that will come and be your output. And if a person that is around you is angry and you become angry, you took from him. If a person around you is fearful and you get fearful too because of that person, you take from him. Because this goes in splits of milliseconds. And since then, I learn. I'm more conscious where I take from. I'm more conscious where I take from. So, where you take from, that you become. And you need to take from whom? From God only. You see, as the only is God from taking, it is the only that we only have our neighbors to just give on spiritual level. On spiritual level, there is never a dependency when you give. There's only a dependency where you take. So God is the only source to take. And our neighbors are the only, we have them only for the purpose to give. We don't have them for the purpose to take. I hope we get and know ourselves better day by day. And we'll know how to get rid of this evil nature. And tomorrow I will go in the morning to do that, and in the evening we will talk about love, and then we will finish up the whole lectures, and I hope it made a round and a clear understanding of humanity and what's wrong in us and how it should be fixed, that it should be right.